You're watching Force 13's live streaming service.
Good morning to those in Guam and the Southern Mariana Islands. This is Force 13 Live. My name is Ethan. We are live covering Typhoon Mawar, and it is looking incredibly threatening right now as it is approaching Guam right now. Rapidly clearing out an eye right now on satellite imagery, and of course we have just upgraded, if you haven't heard the news, this is now officially, well, not officially I should say, but by our analysis, a Category 4 now, with winds of 140 miles per hour and a pressure of 946 millibars. And rumors right now are suggesting that the storm could be on the way to Category 5 status in the next 12 to 24 hours. We are hosting a live stage in our public server right now if you want to come join the call, and we can answer your questions. The link is in the description, or you can go to your browser at discord.gg/force13. But we do have a few people with me right now. We have Christian, Daniel, and I forget your name, Patrick from New York City. Thank you. So what are your guys' thoughts on the system right now, and what do you think its current intensity is?
Alrighty, so I guess I'll take it here first, Ethan. So I do want to point out here that unfortunately I am really coming to the conclusion here that this thing is just an absolute beast. We're continuing to see that eye continue to rapidly clear right now. The eye temperature has also been steadily dropping, and we are currently now at a negative 17 degrees Celsius eye right now, which is quite say extremely concerning. This is a rapidly clearing eye, and that eye continues to warm, and the structure of the storm looks incredible. I have no words to really put it into perspective here. Like, this is a very compact storm right now, and I would not be surprised if this continues to rapidly intensify, which it probably is right now. And this is also really concerning. Also, I do want to point out here real quick before I throw it over to someone else that you can actually notice here on taking a look at visible high-res imagery several mesovortices within the eye, which just comes to show the true intensity of the storm. And if you're in Guam, if you're in the U.S. territory of Guam as well as adjacent areas of the Mariana Islands, you need to be in basic terms, you need to make sure that you're rushing your preparations to completion at this point, because this storm is intensifying fast, and this could, although it's not going to make direct landfall on Guam, it is going to come very close to the inner core of the storm, and this is still going to cause some pretty devastating impacts, regardless of it making landfall or not.
Absolutely, and model consensus right now, I don't know, but I know that it is very, very close to the island of Guam, so I'm pretty certain that at this point, Guam is probably going to get typhoon force winds. But to what extent? That we don't really know. I know that the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, I believe at their latest forecast cone, I don't know if you're able to pull that up on your screen, Daniel, but I know that they are forecasting an extremely close pass to the island of Guam. I think the line goes off the shore like 5 miles or something. It's something really close to the shoreline. But you know, that storm could shift just 5 miles to the east, and all of a sudden you have the center going over land. And yeah, there you can see just off that island. Wow, that is very close. But you can see Guam is still entirely within the forecast cone. So the center could go on the right side of that and could go up towards Rota and still strike Rota. Rota could still get the eyewall of this system, although the main focus is, of course, on Guam. But at the same time, it could take a more southern route and go off towards the south, and maybe the eyewall misses Guam. That's our best case scenario, but that would ultimately lead towards a more stronger storm that would probably go towards the Philippines, probably, so we won't really want that. So either way, this is a very life-threatening situation.
Also, Ethan, to mention about the cone, already this forecast is somewhat out of date on the cone because look where the current center is.
Absolutely.
It's on the right side of the cone already.
And that has been a concerning trend that I've noticed. That the Joint Typhoon Warning Center has been consistently adjusting the forecast cone off towards the northeast. Now, while this doesn't really have any implications in the long term of things, I imagine it might a little bit. But overall, it's just a real question of when does it make that left hand turn? Does it make it earlier and then it goes up towards near Japan, or like I said earlier, does it take a more sooner turn and hit the Philippines later on and become a much stronger storm? We'll have to wait and see on that. There's still a lot of questions to be answered, but certainly a lot of island nations, Philippines, Taiwan, Japan, even the coast of China, needs to be watching out for this storm long range. We don't really know where it's going to go. There's still a lot of signals regarding the system right now. If you do have any comments or questions, you can send those down into the comment section down below, and we'll answer those in due course. Let's go ahead and bring our first speaker on. I think that it's only right to bring Typhoon on first.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you loud and clear.
Hey there. So yeah, pretty significant situation here. As Ethan stated, while the current forecast has the center of the storm missing just south, just for the island of Guam in particular, but also the southern Northern Mariana Islands. Treat this as if this was a typhoon about to make landfall because it very well could be. And you might need to make your preparations. Hopefully, it passes safe with the eye wall safely away, but immediate attention should be focused on Guam. But I do want to talk about potentially what could happen with this storm, since it is forecasted to be a significant storm for several days, potentially a couple weeks, who knows. Given this current situation, there is a very high likely that this storm will at one point undergo IRO replacement cycle. It is unsure when this will happen. It could happen as the storm is approaching Guam. It could happen after it passes Guam. We have no idea. But it's most likely that this would happen at some point. And historical, using historical storms that are strong during this time of the year, most storms do recurve at some point. So, but at this point in time, it's way too far out. Again, it's like, I don't know, 5 days a week out. So you might want to just keep an eye on it for now. If you're in the Philippines, Taiwan, Japan, any of those areas, if you're, yeah, as we can see here, if you're in the Guam or Northern Marianas, get your typhoon preparations ready and double, triple check your preparations, because this is a big one, a very big storm. And we know from the past that these typhoons, even this early into the year, can be extremely strong. So hope for the best, expect the worst. That's what I could give to it.
I know that you're probably comparing a lot of comparisons with this storm with a certain early season storm back from 2004, Diadme, I imagine. I can't recall the last time that we had a storm form this far west and make it all the way to Taiwan. I can't recall that happening.
It is unusual, especially at this time of the year. As previously mentioned, most storms either just because I think there's a subtropical ridge that's keeping the storm west. Most storms either just move northwards generally, or as we saw in 2015 with Null and Dolphin, they move west and then eventually recurve northwards. So we'll have to see if this storm in particular follows this path. So Taiwan, Japan, keep an eye out long range. This storm could easily recurve, but the Philippines do bear an eye out in case this storm does not perform this recurving maneuver. But again, this is not our primary focus of attention. Our focus should be on Guam, because as I kind of expected, but I'm a little surprised this is still a trend. They heavily underestimate how quickly these storms can rapidly intensify, and I stress that especially in the Western Pacific, these storms can have the potential to be extremely powerful, and we're witnessing a storm that is about to realize this potential, unfortunately.
Yeah, it has been a little while since we saw something like this coming. Last time that I can remember, a super obvious that a big storm is inbound was Hagibis back in 2019 in the Western Pacific. It's been a little bit since then. You had storms like Surrogate that went by. Then you had Chanthu. That was a bit of a surprise. Um, then you had it last year in 2022. You had Hitam Nor. That was a bit of a surprise. And then you had Noru, which was not expected to be anywhere near what it ended up getting to. And then, of course, you had Rai. Rai was another big surprise. So, really, a lot of the late season or previous seasons Category 5s and strong Category 4s in that case have really been surprises. They haven't really came out of nowhere, or they've come out of nowhere, and they haven't really been expected like this one has.
I feel like one of the biggest reasons, and this sounds kind of odd, but I do feel like there is a bit of a large storm can be much forecasted well in advance compared to a small storm. Especially, it is very difficult to determine if a small storm is intensifying or not. So when Hagibis was going through, everybody knew this thing was going to be big because the forecast had like 2 weeks out that Hagibis was going to be a big event. Surrogate, to an extent, was similar in that, but nobody didn't think it was going to get that strong in April. But yeah, this is the Western Pacific. You could have a super typhoon at any month of the year, and we're seeing one of those right now.
Yeah, we have a question here in the comment section down below. What was the last major typhoon to make a direct landfall on Guam? I believe that was Pongsona back in 2002, or if it wasn't Pongsona, it was Paka in 1997. That was the last time that we had a major typhoon go right over Guam. It's been that long. There's been a lot of close passes since then, but of course you haven't really had a definite hit on Guam yet, and this is the first possibility that we could be seeing our direct landfall in quite some time.
Yeah,
Now,
I think. Oh, sorry. I think Pongsona was a direct pass, but it wasn't a landfall. I think the eye wall got into that island. But yeah, this is unusual for a storm to make landfall on Guam.
I was just wanting to allude to the recently posted Force 13 cone. I know that you had that up, Daniel.
Yep.
But there's some very big news. We can't see the forecast at the bottom there. But the latest Force 13 cone that I just published is calling for a forecast peak at days 3 and 4 of 180 miles per hour, 1 minute sustained winds, which would be a very strong Category 5. But the one thing that I want to notice about this forecast cone is you can see here towards the beginning of the forecast period, the cone is quite thin as it goes into Guam. We do have pretty good track agreement on where this is going to go. It's going to be a very close pass / landfall on Guam. But where does it go afterwards? Its cone is very large. It's a lot larger than what I normally make it at days 4 and 5. So there's wiggle room for this storm to go off towards the south, and the forecast cone is gone, Daniel.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. There's wiggle room for it to go off towards the south and maybe strike portions of Luzon, and then there's also wiggle room up towards the north. Does it go towards Taiwan and Japan? Still a lot of questions to be answered, but conditions for the storm are ripe. Sea surface temperatures are actually only going to increase for this storm as it goes off towards the west. Wind shear isn't going to be a problem at all for this storm. Ocean heat content, the more southern that the storm goes, the more ocean heat content actually available, which will lead to a stronger storm. But ocean heat content across the board is more than enough. And of course, you have dry air. Dry air isn't really going to be a problem. It's in its own moisture bubble right now, and it seems to be performing pretty well on that. And that's really all the ingredients that you need for a really strong storm. It's just a question of when does the Nile replacement cycle come, and those are really challenging to forecast.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I want to point out about this particular forecast cone. Two things. One, you see in the 12-hour increments in the forecast cone, there's only a 5 mile an hour change in wind intensity. There is a very strong, I would say almost certain possibility that the storm could intensify faster than that initially, and then at some point during this forecast cone, undergo an eye wall replacement cycle, weaken slightly, but in turn become a much larger and much more stable storm. A overall a more dangerous threat for any land that it could threaten down the line. But yeah, uh, with the forecast cone, I mean, at this point, 150 miles an hour, 160 miles an hour, it doesn't really make a difference. It's going to be a devastating event. But I do want to point that out that the 5 mile an hour increments seems pretty conservative considering the rate of intensification the storm has been undergoing.
And absolutely, and it is worth noting that just for you, Typhoon, that all of this sort of happened after I made the forecast cone. So it's quite likely that this probably is 145 miles per hour right now. I hate to say it. Probably approaching super typhoon intensity at a rapid rate, given the eye clear. I mean, look at this satellite imagery. Wow, that is an incredible eye there that the storm has already gotten. And radar doesn't show any evidence of an eye wall replacement cycle. I mean, sure, there's the main eye wall right now on the Guam radar, and maybe you have the outer edges of a second eye wall developing here, but it's a bit hard to tell due to the range of the radar. We'll have a better detail on the storm structure about 12 hours from now. We'll have to wait and see what the storm structure is on the radar, but that is a very strong eye wall aimed directly at the island of Guam. Right now, distance away from the southern tip of the island to the center of the storm is around 190 miles and closing fast.
Speaking of eyewall, Ethan, I actually was just taking a look into things here, and this is actually very close, I would say, to almost a pinhole-like structure, because I'm seeing measurements of this eyewall being only 15 nautical miles in length or so, which is extremely tight, or basically not as big. And taking it into a more larger perspective, and also the eye temperature once again is continuing to steadily drop, and we are now at around negative 13 degrees from what I last looked at. So yeah, this is I have no words for the storm other than this is one storm that probably will cause devastating impacts and will probably continue to intensify at a quite fast rate.
We're going to bring on our next speaker, Typhoon, so just let me know if you want to come back on now.
All right.
We're going to go ahead and bring on Hurricane Corgi. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, we got you loud and clear.
All right, thank you. I'd just like to take a minute, or rather more like a few minutes, to talk about how
Sure.
this storm could definitely bring catastrophic, and by catastrophic I mean extremely catastrophic impacts to I believe Hagåtña and Dededo, which are the major cities of Guam, and not to mention the Northern Mariana Islands, and then beyond, such as Taiwan, China, Philippines, etc. We haven't seen a storm like this in forever, and as we know from previous examples, such as well, the most like well-known one is, of course, Typhoon Karen of the 1960s, which basically obliterated all of Guam because of how powerful it was. Or 175, thank you. Yeah, I need to brush up on that, but what I'm trying to get here is that the damage that could be brought from Typhoon Mawar is, we really still don't know what it could be, but I mean, for me, I'm already predicting that the storm could definitely take a huge toll on the island of Guam, as Guam is somewhat of a small island. It only has like 100,000 people that live there, and it's smaller than Rhode Island for sure, I believe. So this storm could really bring localized extreme impacts, as the storm surge could overwhelm communities and the winds could knock down a lot of infrastructure, although I might be getting a few details wrong here. But we're just, if the storm, even if the storm doesn't make a full landfall, Guam will still most likely be stuck in the eye wall, which will cause which will cause most of Guam to get extreme damage as it could ravage Guam with Category 4 or even 5 if this is the worst case scenario winds.
Absolutely, and it's been a while since Guam has gotten the eye wall of a Category 4 plus typhoon.
Exactly.
Last time that I can recall that they even got the eye wall was Paka. I don't think that they've gotten one. I forgot, what was I saying? Pongsona exists. That was the last one I think they gotten. It's been how long is that? 21 years. 21
Wow.
years.
Wow.
I'd just also like to highlight how, you know, beyond this, really, I'm not sure what's going to happen because, if it's going to make landfall in Taiwan or even mainland China or the North Philippines is up for debate, but whichever country it impacts, it'll still deliver very large, damage because, I'm still predicting that the storm could definitely make a Category 2 or 3 landfall in one of those 3 countries.
I'm sorry, I
but-
have to interrupt you. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center's ATCF fixes out, and they are going with 130 miles per hour, and a pressure. I don't know what the pressure was, but that's. I did see that.
957 millibars. I was actually just gonna go
47.
and wait for Corky to finish, or 47. Yeah, I was gonna go ahead and break in with that.
Yep. So this is now officially a Category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson scale,
Wow.
officially by the Joint Typhoon Warning Center.
Well, we can expect this storm to still intensify a bit, and it might, Category 5 is not off the table. I'd give it a 30 or 40% chance, but really 2023 has not given us a break with any of these, as literally, as we're still recovering from Mocha here, at Force 13, then we get thrown another major typhoon, which would be, in this case, Mawar, and we've had lots of other major typhoons this year, like, or rather cyclones, like, for a few examples, Ilsa, Kevin, Judy, Herman, Freddie, etc. All of these storms have really just been part of this huge anomaly of the year. It's kind of crazy thinking about what could happen later in the season. And it's really throwing me a curveball, considering this is my first year with, fully doing cyclone tracking, so this is definitely a year to remember.
Absolutely. We're gonna move on to the next person here real quick.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just
Ethan,
before. Go ahead.
Before you do that, I want to bring to your attention that at Guam right now, there's the possibility with the latest bans pretty much about to smack onto the island, the possibility of 1 or 2 little spin-up water spouts that could form. There's been some stuff happening in velocity visible, but not.
That's
have to
possible.
Keep an eye on that.
That's possible, but heavy rain and strong winds inbound on Guam. So if you are in Guam, take notice on that. This is your strongest outer band so far, and there might be more on the way.
Yeah.
I just want to go over the latest watches and warnings that are in place. So right now, a typhoon warning remains in effect for Guam and Rota. Damaging winds of 74 miles per hour or more are expected late this evening, with the onset of typhoon force winds forecast for Wednesday morning. A tropical storm warning remains in effect for Saipan and Tinian, and a typhoon watch remains in effect for Taipan and Tinian. Damaging winds of 39 miles per hour or more are expected tonight into Wednesday morning, and typhoon force winds are possible if the westward turn of Mawar is delayed. So that's the watches and warnings right now. We're going to go ahead and bring in Soham here. Let me bring him on. Right, we've got you now, Soham. If you're able to accept the invite, of course. But while he joins the call here, if you have any comments or questions, you can send those down to the comment section down below. We'll answer those in due course.
I do want to also point out here, Ethan, and I want to get your opinion on this. Do we think that this storm is rapidly approaching a T7? At the point?
T7, for reference, by the way, is 160 miles per hour on the Saffir-Simpson scale, which would, of course would equate to a low-end Category 5. I would say that it's getting close to that. A bit hard to say if it will actually reach it. I mean, it's inevitable at this point, let's be honest. But it is creeping up on that scale really quickly.
This is probably going to be approaching or will be T6.5 very soon.
This T6.5 for reference is the equivalent to 245 miles per hour. This is probably already at that, probably.
Yeah.
Like, this storm's eye is clearing at a pretty rapid rate, which sort of wasn't really expected, to be honest. Was expecting this a little bit later on, but well, better earlier than never, right?
The fact that the eye is clearing out rapidly, and we're seeing a rapidly warming eye as well, and given the fact that we're also really seeing those vertical towers really begin to become wrapped around the storm, and given the fact that we still have some pretty strong convective bursts outside of the eye wall, and also given the fact that we noticed their invisible high-res imagery, some mesovortices, which I'm actually seeing some mesovortices on radar within the eye right now. So I think the storm I would honestly say that this storm is intensifying right now. Likely is intensifying right now on its approach to Guam, and this is going to probably be one of the strongest storms to make it past either over Guam or near Guam over the past 2 decades. I think that's a reasonable and not like unreasonable statement to put there. This storm is compact and this storm is dangerous, and that's really all you need to know about the storm right now. It is going to cause significant, devastating impacts to areas where it will be making landfall or passing over, and you need to make sure that you are prepared in the event that you're put under a mandatory evacuation, which I would honestly be surprised if mandatory evacuations are not underway right now on the island of Guam.
We have a question here. Do you think it will enter the Philippine area of responsibility and will be given the name Betty? That is forecast in the next 5 days, so we will be seeing the Pegasa named Betty eventually. While we're on Soham here, we're going to go ahead and bring on Marley from in Canada. I don't know if she's able to come on or not. I think the UI Soham is telling me behind the scenes is being a bit temperamental, which is unfortunate. Right, we're going to go ahead and bring on someone else here. We're going to go ahead and bring on Tiger. I don't know if you're able to join. Right, there we are. We got Tiger on with us now. Hello.
Hello?
Yep, we've got you.
Good, good. I'm just gonna do a lot of listening and input my opinions from time to time, so I'm just gonna mute myself real quick. Is that okay with you, Ethan?
Yeah, that's fine. Right, we're going to go ahead and bring on someone called Force 13 Egg. Interesting name.
Call me AC. I was here during the I was here for a couple hours during the Mocha live stream, and I'm thankful for Force 13 for giving me that opportunity and for giving me this opportunity. But subject at hand. Typhoon Mawar. A Category 4 storm now. And quickly approaching Guam. Look at those outer bands. Oh my.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm going to do?
I guess my first question to you here is, what do you think the storm's current intensity is, and what do you make of its forecast?
I have it at 130 miles an hour, pressure of 945.
It's not bad.
The latest estimates coming out of my end. We'll probably make an adjustment by the time I'm done with this, and probably post another video update on the cyclone on my channel. But let's not get into that right now. I'm pulling up here real quick for y'all. GR2 analyst. Here we go. see at least a little.
Right,
helpful.
while you get that up, we have a
Yeah.
lot of questions here in our live chat that we're going to get to. First question, is this going to cause torrential rains in Saipan and Guam? Yes. Earlier GFS model runs were forecasting, get this, 15 inches of rain from this storm in Guam, which is ridiculous. Of
I can
course,
check that.
that is subject to change, but that is a lot of rainfall. How strong will the winds be in Saipan? Saipan will probably be free of typhoon force winds, although I wouldn't discount the possibility of you getting some typhoon force winds if the left turn that Mawar is going to take is a little bit delayed. We'll have to wait and see on that. But of course, that is a possibility. But the most likely wind speed, I guess you could say, maximum on Saipan probably that I could be seeing is probably around 70 miles per hour. Of course, gusts are going to be a little bit higher than that, but that's just sustained winds. How are evacuations carried out on the islands? Do people have to get on a flight off of the island or something like that? I assume. I know that United Airlines has a hub in Guam. They have nonstop flights to areas across the Pacific and Honolulu, so I imagine people have gone to probably Japan or somewhere else. I know that there's not a whole lot of options airline-wise in and out of Guam, unfortunately. So hopefully people have evacuated as necessary. Will the storm hit Luzon? We don't really know yet. If you are in Luzon, keep an eye on the storm over the next few days. We'll have to see what the forecast track goes. Will Okinawa receive some effects in the long term? Same story for there, really. And do we think that Mawar can make a landfall on Guam? I think it's certainly possible. It's going to be a bit difficult to say yes or no at this point. But what we can say is that it's probably about, I'd say, a 60% chance. All depends on where the center of the storm goes. Remember, the center of the storm is where landfall is, not the edge of the eye.
Speaking of eye, Ethan, I do want to let you know that the eye temperature once again is really, really, really beginning to warm
Oh
up
goodness,
here.
what is it now?
Get this, -7 degrees Celsius.
Oh my goodness.
And what was it before?
Negative
13,
20s?
so
Negative 20s?
negative 13 actually. So this as the eye is rapidly clearing out, it is rapidly warming, which is just absolutely fantastic. Well, not fantastic, but this is just
Wow.
absolutely incredible. It's just incredible. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. Incredible. I have no words.
Two questions here. They're the same thing, really. Will this storm reach Category 5 status? I think it might be about to do that right now, actually.
Speaking of that, I have currently right now the ADT tropical cyclone intensity algorithm current intensity analysis courtesy of ADT. This is going to be as of 03Z, and they are what I'm gonna get here, and maybe Ethan, you can verify this for me. They are currently going with a T6.1, a Vmax of 120 knots, and a estimated pressure of 949 millibars, or 948.6.
So that's not a bad estimate. Though, what is the raw T number, or the raw Dvorak number?
6.6.
Okay. So just for reference, what that actually is it's basically taking the latest Dvorak frame that ADT can offer and basically doing a Dvorak reading on it, and not even realizing the past few hours of the storm, and just realizing what the storm looked like if it was raw frame and was just sustained for a few hours. Right now, that would be a T6.6, around 125 knots, 145 miles per hour. So either way, this is a strong storm, very strong storm, Category 4, probably rapidly approaching Category 5 here, possibly. And I think that it's pretty certain at this point that this is going to be a big storm for Guam. Not every day that we say that for the island of Guam. Last time, I know that the last time that Guam was poised really to get a big storm was Mangkhut, and that was originally forecast to be a Category 4 passing over Guam. And that ended up busting a little bit and ended up only being a Category 2. This is not going to be like Mangkhut at all. This is the real deal for Guam. This is a very life-threatening typhoon here, and I'll just pause this on the latest image here. There's the eye, and there's the island of Guam. So this storm is headed pretty much directly in the direction of Guam, and it's not every day that we get to see this kind of threat for the Mariana Islands, especially a U.S. territory. This is probably the biggest U.S. threat probably to
Ethan.
U.S. I know about the high temperature. I'll get to you here in a minute.
Yeah.
But this is probably the biggest threat to the U.S. and its territories. Keyword and its territories, probably since Ian, probably. So this could be a big storm here for the U.S. and its territories.
So, Ethan, I'm just gonna let you know this right now. Another update just came in, and this is staggering. Negative 2.7 degrees Celsius is what we're currently at right now.
Oh my gosh.
And this is courtesy of the Himawari 9 Band 14 Dias target area, which is just basically a measure of wind pressure ACE diagnosis, and it does show that Dvorak imagery and like, oh my goodness, wow. Just
We're now
absolutely
joined. We're now joined by Alex from Washington. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Doing all right?
What are your thoughts on this very ferocious storm right now, and what do you think its current intensity is?
Well, this is unfortunately not a situation I would really like to see, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and agree with Force 13 for now. For my own guess for the storm's intensity at the moment.
We have a question here in the chat. Do you think that the storm is worthy of a 130 knot upgrade, considering the eye is stabilizing and the eastern eye wall is building up? Probably, if I had to guess, based on the raw frames. I would like to see this eye sustained for about another hour or so. Probably a little bit less than that, considering the rapid increase in the eye temperature.
And it's now up to 1 degree Celsius.
Oh my gosh, it's in the positives.
wow,
That's fantastic.
That is rapid.
That's fantastic.
0.8864 for an accurate number, but absolutely incredible.
Yeah, this storm's eye is rapidly warming, which is not a good sign at all, and is a sign of very strong strengthening. And this storm is becoming more powerful really by the minute.
Also, Ethan, you can switch back to my screen for WSU3 radar.
Yep, we've got your screen up right now, actually. I didn't realize that WSU3 had Guam until now.
I checked and then I realized yes, it did.
Well, that's useful.
Unfortunately,
You
you
can
don't
clearly-
have satellite.
Now, you can clearly make out the eye there. Seems pretty stable.
Yeah.
Eye
The
diameter, if anyone was
full-
wondering, is around 20 miles wide on every single direction. So this is a pretty decent eye. But you'll notice there on the satellite imagery, on WSU3 even, no sign of an eye wall replacement cycle.
Yep.
Yeah. However, I will say though that an eye replacement cycle and ERC could definitely be the possibility soon. However, this is going to probably going to hold off a little bit, as like they said, the eye temperature is rapidly warming, and it is still remaining very small. I wouldn't say very small, but small, very small if you take into perspective how usually, like, let's take into perspective of like a larger eye in a sense. Like, this is relatively small to say the very least, and given the fact that we have a very rapidly warming eye, like I've been mentioning, with this now at almost 1 degree Celsius.
This is crazy.
So it probably is going to continue to keep rising, but I think we have Soham here now.
Yeah, we got Soham on the line.
Finally got through.
Finally, he's with us.
There we go.
What do you make of this storm right now? I'm very interested to hear your take on this.
I'm not surprised in the least.
You're not surprised at all, really?
Not at all. No.
Classic.
I find that a little bit hard to believe.
A little hard?
I mean, if you looked at Reaper and you saw the 70% chance of 55 knot intensification in 36 hours, you probably knew this was going to blow up sooner or later. And not only that, but model soundings showed that shear had downtrended in the immediate term. So so suddenly this storm's main obstacle, which was a easterly mid-level shear, is suddenly out of the picture. It was only a matter of time before the storm started wrapping shear against the shear vector and started clearing its height this quickly.
Absolutely. By the way, eye temperature is up to 5 degrees Celsius.
My goodness.
That has jumped rapidly in
Not
temperature.
5.
7 degrees. 7 degrees.
Listen, let me tell you, I was kind of shocked when I looked at ATCF and it said 110 knots at the time, and I'm like, what the?
Just for reference, the eye temperature a mere 40 minutes ago was negative 30. It has gone up basically 40 degrees in 40 minutes. That is ridiculous.
That is 1 degree every minute.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's an average warming eye of like 1 degree Celsius per minute. That also, yeah, and now it's up to 7.4.
I now have a question. What's the warmest eye recorded?
This isn't going to get close to that.
Well, I know that, but I'm just curious.
I have no clue what the record is.
I recorded is 34.7 degrees Celsius in Super Typhoon Jury 1979.
Right, really quickly, I just want to bring Honda on. I believe you're from Massachusetts? No. A Honda Marlboro McLaren is his name, apparently. We've got you on the line now.
Alright.
What are your thoughts on this storm right now?
Really bad. I mean, I went through the trip in 2015 in Mexico because I kind of got stranded down there. During that whole fiasco, and that was terrifying.
Absolutely, and I imagine that this storm is pretty menacing. Of course, it's nowhere near that storm that you went through, but just
by the time the trip hit land, it significantly weakened.
We have a question here. Can it hit Guam? I think it's pretty certain now that it will.
Ethan, I do have to let you know here real quick, and I unfortunately am going to say here that I'm confirming now based off of infrared imagery that the eye is beginning to almost be fully cleared out.
So basically, to put that in simpler terms, that means now on the latest Dvorak frame, this is a raw reading. This is not final. This is not final. I just want to put that up there. Based on the latest Dvorak frame, this is now raw imagery, a raw category 5 on the Dvorak imagery.
No.
Yes.
Raw imagery. This is not final. That is not a final reading. To repeat, Dvorak imagery raw has now reached category 5 raw readings, which is ridiculous and indicates probably that a category 5 is on the way. Yes.
Yeah, already.
I also do want to point out here a brief note here real quick before I go back. I just want to point out something here that's probably not 100% relevant to the Dvorak right now, but I am noticing here, and I'll briefly point this out, that there is a little bit of a feature here to the southeast of Song right now. It definitely looks like that we could be seeing the first signs of a potential waterspout developing within one of those outer rain bands. So if you are along or south of the island of Song and you are if you're off the coast of Song or if you're off the coast of Song right now in the Pacific Ocean, I would definitely keep an eye on the skies, and if a water spout indeed definitely touches down and you do see one, just go back to port and secure your vessels.
It's bad, and it's just going to get worse.
Why is this broken?
Yeah, this storm is only going to get worse from this point out, to be honest. Question here: what is the maximum possible wind speed for this storm?
200.
I don't know if 200 is a bit of a stretch.
185, perhaps.
Yeah,
I
one-
would agree there.
I'd say if everything goes right for this storm, it could probably reach 190, 195 miles per hour. But that's only if everything goes right for this storm.
Ethan, I is up to
Everyone said that.
9.5
Everyone
degrees
said
Celsius.
Patricia would never reach
Even
Thank
then,
you.
it might even.
I repeat 9.5 degrees Celsius. I repeat 9.5.
My latest forecast cone, of course, you can find that on Twitter. That was up, it was posted 40 minutes ago. Was forecasting 180 miles per hour. I think that's quite reasonable right now. Would you agree with that, Soham?
No.
The thing is, considering the very spiral banding like structure that the storm has, what I would think is the storm would probably go a very quick first peak, do an I-1 replacement cycle, and then because conditions get really good afterwards, like day three onwards, conditions get even better from here. I think I could see a more powerful second peak, all things considered.
Absolutely. We'll have to wait and
And
see
let
on
me
that.
tell
We're
you,
gonna go
this
ahead
is a lot
and
of
bring back on Corgi and Typhoon.
Hello.
Ethan?
Go ahead, Corgi.
Also, I'm just gonna be here just to give insight and stuff. If like, if I have any opinions, but
Go ahead.
me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'd also just like to mention how, typhoon, or this typhoon could definitely, deal some severe, agricultural damage to the areas if it affects the Philippines or mainland China as well, because, as shown by previous systems, you don't need a strong storm to be extremely, destructive in those areas, and
Look
this
at Harvey
storm,
after its landfall.
I'm not really, and we're not still sure what this is going to be at landfall. Like this could be, a category 3, category 2, category 1 tropical depression, etc. So really it's all just up for debate as of now.
Absolutely. Keep the comments and questions in the comment section down below flowing. We really appreciate them. How much rain will fall from this storm, in your opinion? If I had to guess, GFS was going with a little bit of an extreme 15 inches of rain. I'd probably guess.
Is over.
Our temperature is now 10.5 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
Repeat that again?
10.5 degrees.
10.5.
So GFS rainfall wise had an extreme 15 inches of rain. I don't think it's going to be that much. I probably imagine around maybe 10 inches. Yeah, probably in the ballpark of around 10 inches would probably be my guess. That's still a lot of rain though.
Yeah, but really, there could be a lot of rain or decent amount of rain produced by this. I mean, there's no accurate figures for how much this storm will produce, but I'd still say it could produce a very heavy amount, which could cause a lot of flooding in Guam if flooding does occur.
I think it's pretty much safe to say that Ethan and Soham, you'll probably agree with this. I think this has easily exceeded WMG. The WMGI, if I'm using the correct terminology.
That was the wrong button to press. I accidentally turned on the countdown there.
Great job.
When was the last Category 5 landfall for Guam? PACA, 1997. Straight up. Easiest answer. It's been that long.
Until I see otherwise, this is a Patricia type storm.
Last one before that was 1962. That was Karen.
Of course, it's Karen.
And if you actually, I just realized if you actually extrapolate the year from 1962 to 1997, that's 35 years. So 1997 plus 35, that's 2032. So that's not far off if this makes a Category 5 landfall. So that's not a bad recurrence rate, to be honest.
And also, I believe Corgi was talking about something about 2023 being unusual. I heard from the call when I was trying to get through.
Hmm? Wait, what was unusual? I can't remember.
You said that 2023 was very active.
Oh yeah, I made a comparison earlier, although I wouldn't consider this comparison to, be as accurate, but I would say that, I mean, this isn't completely accurate, but
I can understand because you see, you haven't tracked a year that is other than a La Nina year. The last 3 years have all been La Nina years and have seriously dampened global tropics activity. What you saw in the last 3 years is not normal. It was very inactive. We are
yes.
returned to more normal activity this year.
I temp now to 11.18.
Still increasing at a very rapid rate.
Yeah.
As Tiger said, yes, Guam is populated. It has around like 100,000 people that live there, and evacuations will need to take place on a large scale if people want to be ensured their safety because of this storm, as it seems it's making a direct approach for Guam. It might not make a landfall, but
I'm still saying that if this storm continues to intensify, we're going to have that type of scenario I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Look
And
at that
also,
visible appearance. Wow.
yeah, visible high-res imagery and infrared imagery can almost certainly confirm, as of the latest scans, that the eye is on the verge of almost being completely clear. It has a little bit of a ways to go. However, given the fact that the eye is rapidly warming and given the fact that the eye is also rapidly clearing, I think it's pretty much safe to say that this eye is almost fully cleared out. Like I said, it has a little bit ways to go, but that is just an incredible visible appearance.
This is an easy super typhoon at this point.
This is 10 frames, by the way, so I have it short just to see how fast this thing's moving. Also, am I the only one realizing this thing seems to be wobbling over?
Here, Ethan, I'm gonna go ahead and send you something in the work discussion chat of our controller
Okay.
hub, and take a look.
Wobbling west.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know if
incredible.
it's doing,
Wobbles, Daniel, are quite normal in a storm of this intensity.
Mute the
Yeah.
inappropriate comments.
You're gonna see that
All chat.
sometimes, and it's a very small scale and shouldn't really affect anything.
up the
It still looks
thing.
to be beelining for Guam.
I
That's the main thing. It looks to be beelining for Guam.
I'd also just like to state how, Guam is going to get much worse from this storm, considering how, it's actually probably going to it's probably going to be off worse than if it were to get a landfall because of how, the eye is probably not going to pass over Guam, which will ensure that the storm or that the island will still get a lot of stuff.
Continual eye will all the way through.
Exactly.
Okay, I have to interrupt here. The latest Joint Typhoon Warning Center forecast cone is out for this storm.
And it's terrible.
Mm,
And it's terrible, in my opinion.
Yeah, they are going completely conservative, only forecasting a peak of 100. They've actually upgraded to 155 miles per hour at day 4. So they're forecasting now a borderline Category 5 at day 4. Personally, I think that it's going to get to near that status much quicker than that.
All these consider it's probably going to catfight by 6D today at this rate. Oh god.
And they forecast this typhoon to pass near Guam with winds of 145 miles. Is that a pass directly over Guam?
Holy.
That is. JTWC
Oh my
forecast
God.
a 145 mile per hour landfall on Guam.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Geez.
This could be the worst storm in
There's Guam right there.
20 years. Because
It'll be a long time
Holy.
coming, folks.
I'll go right over southern
if
Guam.
anyone here is watching in Guam, then you should really start preparing for the storm.
I think Guam has very strict building code. From what I've heard, very strict building codes, and I believe they'll probably prepare ahead of time.
I just want to also point out, just extrapolating the latest Joint Typhoon Warning Center forecast cone, they're forecasting landfall on Guam in 12 hours. I think it's going to be a little bit later than that.
Oh my goodness.
It's not going to be that soon.
Well,
folks, I'm gonna tell you something. Rate this thing's intensifying. there is a non-zero chance that, so it's 11:54 in a.m. in Guam right now. By tomorrow morning local time, this thing would be coming in on Category 5.
It probably already is. We got we got Typhoon back with us, by the way.
It's still up to debate. It's like how Mocha was, as they eventually upgraded it to Category 5 status. So I do feel like that a similar thing will happen here, but you know, we can't really tell for sure yet.
I wanna put out something really quickly here, Ethan. I'm also noticing here that velocities are beginning to come into range of the storm right now from the TGUA Anderson Air Force Base radar in Guam right now. And it is currently scanning of where the beam height is going to be measuring here of at least winds of 110 miles per hour from basically at the height of which it's scanning the beam, which is extremely high up, but still it's still
That's pretty notable.
Yeah.
What makes this unique is that we have not gotten. It's been such a long time since the storm actually went to Guam. Is that we are probably going to get U.S. standard radar for a Westback typhoon. Very rare to get data like this.
I temp now up to 12 degrees Celsius.
20?
12.
Okay, I was about to say 20.
Yeah,
I was about to say.
Insane.
11.6, which is basically.
I swear, the eyes warmed some 20 degrees since I showed up in the stage maybe a half hour ago. Maybe.
Potentially.
There are some extremely fast intensification.
I was looking a bit more well built. That might just be because of proximity to the radar, but it does look like it's really coming together nicely, and that is going to end up being very.
The forward arc is really expanded. If you look at an outer lobe, you can see it on that on Tanman's. I think Daniel's. You can see it on Daniel's screen. The forward outflow of Mawar has really expanded in latest frames, which has only accelerated the eye clearing process.
Take a look at shear in the forecast on my side of things.
The last 24 hours.
Nothing.
We have a question here in the comment section down below. What will the storm surge forecast to be? I imagine it's going to be pretty bad.
15 feet.
Yeah, that'd be around what I would expect. Right, so we are.
I personally also expect Guam to issue its first ever extreme wind warnings.
Yeah, I think that's pretty inevitable.
Guam, you should probably be seeking some sort of reinforced shelter by this point.
Exactly. I mean, I wouldn't consider this, you know, like anything, but
I've heard from my friend who's stationed on Guam that they're opening the base to civilians because of this.
Yeah, this is honestly a really scary situation for anyone involved within Guam or the.
They have a few nuclear hardened bunkers, so that might be the only place that might survive this.
If you know, it's unlikely that anyone has underground shelters in Guam as well, but if they do, then you know you should definitely also get in one of those because this system could still really.
Wouldn't that be a bad idea to be in an underground shelter during the middle of a storm like this? Because storms.
I mean, I wouldn't say like I mean, it could also just be in the middle of like a reinforced house, but you know, if you have no other option, then if it's like if it's a last resort, then maybe, but.
12.2 degrees Celsius and rising. Sorry for breaking in, but 12.2 degrees Celsius and continuing to rise.
You're good.
Yeah, you're fine, man.
This is going to be one of the worst storms to Guam in recorded history.
I just hope that everyone is okay after the storm and there aren't too many major effects from the storm, but we can only, you know, hope that everything goes okay for the people that live in Guam and North Mariana Islands and beyond. Whatever happens after the supposed landfall in Guam, which is still up for grabs, I mean, at least I don't really know, but anywhere is still not a good situation, and it could cause flooding.
Absolutely.
Small desolate island in the middle Pacific. What are they gonna like? This presents a lot of logistics challenges, and you know.
Well, I mean, Guam is part of the United States, so they do get funding. However, Guam, as with other territories, aren't, you know, considered completely states. So.
Guys, the eye temperature shot up to 15.
Well, they
Wow.
are also,
Right, I'm afraid.
also massive
I'm afraid that.
military installations, so U.S. government
Okay,
kind of
this has
cares a bit
definitely
more.
exceeded 130 by this point.
Hmm.
It's only been about like.
I'm afraid that we're out of time here, folks.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you all for coming on to the stream here. I imagine that we'll be having more live coverage on this storm in around 12 hours from now. I imagine that someone will be running a morning stream. And I know that we do have plans to run an automated stream, I believe starting Tuesday here in the US sometime. I'm just trying to remember when that was. But an automated stream on this storm is coming, and I imagine we'll be having more live coverage on this storm over the next few hours. This storm is still rapidly intensifying right now. A strong Category 4, possibly approaching Category 5 on the Saffir-Simpson scale right now. This storm is extremely dangerous, and preparations in Guam need to be rushed to completion. Stay tuned to your National Weather Service office for the latest information on this extremely dangerous typhoon, and I imagine be prepared to take shelter if an extreme warning or if you need to do so very safely. Stay safe, and we'll have more updates on this storm over the next 12 to 24 hours as it approaches Guam.